Why your memories of trauma are probably wrong. The science of memory reconsolidation and distortion. Let's get right into it. Number 10. Your brain is basically a bad historian. Imagine your brain as that one friend who tells amazing stories, but adds a few extra details every time. The monster gets bigger. The weather gets stormier. And somehow, they were the hero who saved everyone. That's your memory, but about your own life. When something traumatic happens, like a car crash, a betrayal, or being ghosted so hard you question your own existence, your brain doesn't record it like a video camera. It's more like a chaotic group chat between your senses, your emotions, and your stress hormones. Everyone's shouting. Nobody's taking accurate notes. And cortisol is just smashing the all caps button. Later, when you remember it, you're not replaying the memory. You're rebuilding it. The hippocampus, your brain's memory librarian, pulls fragments from different shelves. What you saw, what you felt, what you think you saw, and what Netflix made you believe trauma looks like. It stitches those together into what feels like truth. The scary part, every time you recall it, you edit it again. Tiny tweaks, emotional filters, new sound effects. Psychologists call this reconsolidation. Basically, your memory reopens the file, lets you rewrite a few lines, then saves over the old version. Do that enough times, and congratulations, you've become the unreliable narrator of your own autobiography. So when people say, "I'll never forget that day," what they really mean is, "I'll never forget my brain's most recent remix of that day." Number 9. Trauma time travel. You ever smell something and suddenly feel like you're back there? Like one whiff of cheap cologne and you're transported straight to 2009 heartbreak land. That's not magic. It's your amygdala throwing you a surprise party you didn't ask for. See, trauma memories don't play by normal rules. They're stored in your brain's emergency folder, and that folder skips logic and timestamps entirely. So when a trigger happens, like a sound, a smell, or someone using that tone, your brain doesn't go, "Ah yes, this reminds me of that event." It goes, "We're in that event. Duck and cover." This is why flashbacks feel real. Your body starts pumping adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes, and your muscles prepare to fight or flee, even though you're just standing in a grocery store, staring at cereal. It's not your fault. It's the nervous system's overprotective mom energy. We've been here before, and it went terribly, so let's freak out now to stay safe later. But here's the twist. The more those memories reactivate, without context, the more distorted they can become. Your brain keeps updating them, like a bad iOS patch. Over time, the edges blur, the emotions inflate, and the original event becomes a ghost story told by your own neurons. Basically, your nervous system's trying to save you by scaring you. Number 8. Emotional Wi-Fi interference. Let's talk about how your mood straight up hijacks your memories. Ever notice how when you're sad, everything in your past suddenly turns into a tragic indie film montage? That's mood-congruent memory, the psychological version of YouTube's autoplay, but for feelings. When you're in a certain emotional state, your brain preferentially retrieves memories that match that vibe. Angry? You'll remember every time someone annoyed you since 1997. Happy? Suddenly, life's a Pixar movie, and your ex wasn't that bad. Now apply that to trauma. If you recall a traumatic event when you're anxious or depressed, your brain will repaint it in those colors. Darker, heavier, scarier. Each recall reinforces the emotional distortion, making the memory less factual and more mood-flavored. It's like your brain keeps updating an old photo with Instagram filters that change based on your feelings. After a while, you don't even remember what the original looked like. The kicker: when you feel different later, calm, safe, content, you might not even believe that old version of the memory. You'll think, did it really happen that way? That's not denial. It's your brain switching emotional Wi-Fi networks. Different signal, different story. So no, you're not crazy for doubting your own memories. You're just running on unstable emotional internet. Number 7, the missing puzzle pieces problem. Ever piece together a story from fragments, only to realize later that half of it came from guesswork? That's how your memory handles trauma. Like a lazy detective, filling in blanks with imagination. During intense stress, your prefrontal cortex, the logical manager, takes a nap while your amygdala, the emotional bodyguard, screams into the radio. You don't encode the full event, just the loudest, scariest bits. Later, when you recall it, your brain notices gaps and quietly fills them in. The problem? It fills them in with whatever feels right, not what is right. So your mind might remember someone's expression, a sound, or even a sequence of events that didn't actually happen, but emotionally, it fits the story. This is called confabulation, and it happens all the time, especially with trauma. Think of it as your brain adding dramatic reenactments to incomplete footage. It's not lying, it's trying to give your past meaning. But these little edits can snowball. With every retelling, the fake pieces get reinforced, while the real fragments fade. You might swear on your life that something happened, because to your brain, it truly did. The neural wiring says so. So next time you're sure about a traumatic detail, remember, your memory isn't a court transcript. It's a collaborative fan fiction between neurons, emotions, and time. Number 6, the therapy remix effect. Here's the irony. The very act of talking about trauma can make your memories less accurate. Yeah, your healing journey might come with bonus memory distortion. See, when you reprocess trauma through therapy, journaling, or late-night emotional karaoke, you're not just unloading, you're reconstructing. The brain opens the memory file, brings it to your conscious mind, and allows edits before saving it again. That process is called reconsolidation, and it's both a blessing and a curse. It's how we heal, because new emotional context can soften the sting of old pain. But it also means your brain might rewrite small details without telling you. You may remember an argument lasting longer, someone saying something harsher, or even yourself reacting differently. That's your brain blending emotional truth, how it felt, with factual truth, what happened. It's why eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable, and why trauma narratives often evolve over time. It's not manipulation, it's maintenance. Memory reconsolidation is like editing a movie you starred in years ago, except the editor is emotional, subjective, and terrible at continuity checks. So yes, therapy helps you heal, but it also gives your brain access to the edit project file. Just make sure you save a backup labeled probably close enough. Number 5, the social influence upgrade. Human memory is weirdly social. You don't just store experiences, you update them based on how others react to your story. If someone validates your pain, your brain strengthens that memory's emotional tone. If someone dismisses it, it couldn't have been that bad. Your brain might subconsciously rewrite it to seem less intense. Or if they overreact, that's horrifying. You might start remembering it as worse. This is called memory conformity, and it's psychological peer pressure in action. When multiple people share an event, they influence each other's recall until everyone's story sounds suspiciously identical and slightly wrong. Even solitary trauma isn't immune. When you read similar stories online, your brain sometimes borrows details to make sense of its own. The line between empathy and adoption gets blurry fast. So when someone says, "That didn't happen like you said," it doesn't mean you're lying. It might just mean your brain joined a group project and forgot who wrote which paragraph. Basically, human memory is open source software. Anyone with enough emotional input can contribute. Number 4, the flashbulb illusion. You know those moments you swear you'll never forget, where you remember every sound, every smell, every tiny detail. Turns out, that confidence is the biggest lie your brain tells. Psychologists call them flashbulb memories. Vivid, emotionally charged recollections, like snapshots of shock. You feel like they're burned into your brain with a laser. But studies show they fade and distort, just like normal memories. Sometimes even faster. After 9/11, researchers asked people to describe where they were when they heard the news. A year later, half their stories had changed. But when asked how confident they felt, they still said 100% sure. That's the trick. Flashbulb memories feel more accurate even when they're absolutely not. Your brain equates emotional intensity with truth. The stronger the feeling, the more it insists, "I know this happened." But emotions are unreliable narrators. They color your recollection, not confirm it. So that "I remember exactly what I was wearing" moment, maybe. Or maybe your brain filled in the wardrobe later to make the story cinematic. Because let's be honest, your trauma deserves at least decent costume design. Basically, flashbulb memories, they're emotional selfies, dramatic, filtered, and usually a little off. Number 3, the body keeps the story, sort of. You've probably heard the phrase, "the body keeps the score." And yeah, kind of. But it's not like your muscles are out here keeping diaries. What really happens is your nervous system encodes the feeling of the trauma more than the facts. When your body senses danger, it prioritizes survival, not memory accuracy. Heart rate up, Digestion off, blood to muscles. It's go time. Recording timestamps and dialogue isn't high on the to-do list. That's why trauma survivors often remember sensations: tight chest, heat, panic, but not sequence or detail. Later, when the mind tries to fill in what the body felt, it can misinterpret those sensations as evidence of things that didn't literally happen. Your body says something horrible occurred, and your brain scrambles to build a matching narrative. That's also why body-based therapies like EMDR or somatic experiencing can help. They don't focus on the story, they focus on teaching the nervous system it's safe again. So yes, your body remembers, but not like a diary, more like a fire alarm that keeps going off even when the house isn't burning. It's accurate about danger, not detail. Basically, your trauma's stored in 4K emotion and 240p logic. Number 2, memories don't live in one place. Pop culture lied. There isn't a single memory file floating in your brain that you can just open like a folder. Each memory is spread across multiple regions: sensory, emotional, contextual. When you recall it, your brain assembles the pieces like re-downloading fragments from different cloud servers. Here's the issue. Those servers sometimes glitch. If your emotion server goes offline or your sensory one gets corrupted, your brain just improvises. You might remember something vividly, but incorrectly. Like hearing shouting that never happened, or recalling a face in a blur that your brain later sharpens with a random stranger's features. It's called source misattribution. Your brain confuses where a detail came from: real experience, imagination, dream, or someone else's story. Over time, the distinction erodes. And because memories are reconstructed, not replayed, every recall reshapes the network. It's like a game of psychological Jenga. Pull out the wrong block, and suddenly, that memory isn't the same structure anymore. So next time you think, "I remember that perfectly," ask yourself, do you or did your brain just complete the download using substitute parts? Number 1, truth versus narrative. Here's the uncomfortable finale. Your memory's goal isn't accuracy, it's meaning. When you survive something traumatic, your brain's first priority is not to document, but to understand. It builds a story that helps you move on, even if that story isn't perfectly true. The mind edits, exaggerates, or even rearranges events to make emotional sense of chaos. Think of it as psychological storytelling. The villain might become clearer, the timeline might simplify, or the emotional weight might grow. You're not trying to deceive yourself. You're trying to protect yourself. Memory distortion is a coping mechanism, not a flaw. Neurologically, it's about reconsolidation. Every time you revisit a memory, your brain blends the old with the new, your current emotions, beliefs, and perspective. The more you revisit it, the more modernized it becomes. Eventually, the truth becomes something closer to your current identity than your past reality. That's why healing can change how you remember. As you grow safer, calmer, and stronger, the same event might feel less catastrophic, or sometimes more. Both versions can be true, emotionally speaking, because memory isn't about facts. It's about the human need to make sense of suffering. So yes, your traumatic memories might be inaccurate, but that doesn't mean your pain isn't real. The feelings are valid. The story may be just creatively produced by your brain's internal film studio. Because in the end, your mind's not a courtroom, it's a screenwriter. And trauma? It's the script it keeps rewriting until it finally makes peace with the ending. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them. Why your memory